Most accounts of the Buddha focus on or repeat the stories about a restless prince who lived in luxury and was happily married and was going to inherit his kingdom, who is exposed by one of his servants to the outside world and encounters poverty and death and other unpleasant things. He lived in this world of luxury, so he has a great deal of trouble trying to account for all this, and so he goes on a lifetime quest. Now, this is a dramatic story, and it's very compelling, but probably none of it's true. It's simply a set of myths that were worked up around the Buddha. What we do know is that he probably was a prince. He probably was named Siddhartha, and he came from one of the small kingdoms in the Himalayas that were developing in the period after the Indo-European invasions of India. And we do know, and this part is the most important part because he emerges as a great religious teacher, we do know that he does go on a quest, that he becomes a wandering ascetic, that he does all kinds of penance, and he starves himself at one point and all the rest, trying to find the truth. He's trying to find the meaning of the universe. And the central problem for him was suffering, human suffering, animal suffering. He was, and this seems fairly reliable too, he was a very compassionate person who had great feeling for animals and nature and the natural world. He goes on a quest to find the way out, because he believes that all of life is suffering, that friends become enemies, that husbands die, that we will all that we all sin, and that we all ultimately will perish. And so he's trying to find the riddle. What is the way out of this? And ultimately, he tries all these other paths, asceticism and starving himself and the rest, and ultimately finds that none of them work, and comes to the point where meditation is the key. And from there, he develops what is called in Buddhism, and this is developed after the Buddha, what is called the Eightfold Path. It's essentially what they believe, the way that Buddha worked through these problems. And essentially, the answer to all this was to remove attachment, to not be attached to the world. And ultimately, you come to a place of peace and stability, and not heaven. Buddha did not preach you were going to go to heaven after you die. That simply what you do is you come to this place where you will no longer be reborn, because Buddhism accepts rebirth, that you'll no longer be reborn and you'll no longer have suffering in the world because you are at peace and not attached. All of this is remarkable in itself. The one interesting thing is that Buddhism was more or less atheistic. There was no God. He himself said that he was not a god, but he predicted that his followers would deify him. And so what happens after Buddha's death is that all Buddhism becomes institutionalized in ways that he wouldn't have approved of, and it also becomes a salvationist religion with gods and heavens and saviors and all the rest, which is quite contrary to anything that the Buddha himself would have had. It is remarkable because for a whole lot of reasons. First of all, it's a powerful message, but most importantly, I think it is really the first world religion. So those of us who study and read about world history, it's very, very important to us. It spreads to all of Asia, to Central Asia, to Japan, to Korea, all across India, to Ceylon, and to all across the mainland and island Southeast Asia. So it's the first genuine world religion. The Christianity comes 500 years before Christianity. In fact, many of the myths about Christ are myths, Buddhist myths, the virgin birth and the wise men who come to worship the child and all the rest are in Buddhist hagiography. Buddhist monks and missionaries carry as I said, the religion to all the world. The other thing that's remarkable about it is that it is a truly revolutionary religion. So one of the functions of Buddhism is that it does become, in fact, a mass religion. And in India, it's absolutely revolutionary because the Buddhism challenges the power of the Brahmins, the religious, the priests, the Hindu priests, well, later will be Hindu priests, who have great power, and they put religiosity and worship in the hands of the ordinary people, so that an ordinary person can go become a monk. An ordinary person can become literate One of the amazing things about Buddhism is that societies that are Buddhist are heavily literate because you have to be able to read the text in the various languages, Pali and the other language, Japanese and Chinese, that the texts are written in. And even more remarkably, Buddhism at a time when women in places like China and India, when their position is declining, they're becoming more and more subordinate, they lack career outlets, Buddhism becomes a way for women to, there are nunneries for Buddhist women, and they can study, they become literate, they can study texts, they can become accomplished musicians. So there are a whole series of avenues that open up to women in these societies that are becoming increasingly male dominant. But above all, and you still see this in Southeast Asia, it's really powerful, in Theravada countries especially, it becomes a religion of the masses, where in a sense, even before Islam and Christianity, all Buddhists are equal in terms of access to literacy and the monkhood. So it's truly remarkable world religion, but at the same time, for its time, it has a revolutionary force on the world.